Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Strat Gamer here, providing you with the new Anno 1800 episode today. This is a new episode in our series, The Complete Guide, and we are going to look today at the grapes and champagne. Why grapes and champagne? Well, it is a basic need for investors, but it's also one of those goods that can be very easy to supply if you know what you're doing, but very hard if you just follow maybe the common path, let's say. Before we dive in, please consider subscribing to the channel so you never miss another video, and you also help support the channel. Also, don't hesitate to look at previous episodes of this series. The series will appear now at the top, and please do not hesitate to share any feedback, suggestion that you may have either in the comment below or in my Discord channel. Okay, so let's dive in. As I said, champagne is a basic need for investors. It's actually unlocked when you have your first investor, but it's also very good for expeditions. It provides 8+80 of morale and a diplomacy bonus of 30 for your expedition. So it's one of those good that can be very helpful there. I've posted in the description below a lot of what I'm going to say. It's very detailed description, also with a lot of the links, for example, to the wiki. So don't hesitate to check that out if you miss something from the video, if you want to dive deeper. Now let's talk about the production chains, and that's where it gets a lot more interesting, I would say. So of course, and let's put back the game. So of course the sort of classic production is to start with grapes from the vineyards, to add glass to it in a champagne cellar, and you make champagne. And the glass come, from the sand mine. That's a normal one. But there's many other ones. The first one I wanted to show you is actually the festivals. There's different festivals that happen when you have high happiness, right? And the higher your happiness, the longer the festival is. So this can be very powerful. And you have two festivals, the beer festival and the festival of reason, which actually provide champagne to your houses, even if you don't have any in stock, right? So it's fulfilling the need. So that can be quite powerful. I don't know if I have any right now going on, probably not. Let's see now. So unfortunately, no, we don't see that, but trust me, and again, there's a link in the description below to the wiki where you can see more description about those festivals. But then another festival that usually is even more powerful, especially early in the game, is the Harvest Festival. And with that festival, all of your crop farms in that island where the festival is happening are producing a bunch of different goods on top of just the normal crops, right? So if you have wheat farms, they will continue to produce wheat, but on top of that, they will also produce things like rum and champagne. And to be precise, they will produce one champagne every 9 cycle. So that can be very useful. Now, next one is to produce champagne is with items. And so you do Ctrl T to check your items. I'm pretty sure I'm using it in a lot of places. So we will find it is the medal winning producer. As you can see, applies to your grain farms, red pepper farms, and vineyard. So even if you're in sort of normal way and you have vineyards to produce grapes, well, put that item because you're gonna get champagne one every 8 cycle. That's quite nice. But I think a lot more powerful in terms of items is the items that are actually producing grapes, so that you don't need vineyards. The first one, which is not my favorite, but let's mention it, is Dr. Ali. Dr. Ali will do all of your new crop farms, produce a bit of provide a bit of productivity, and as you can see, grapes once every 17 cycles. So that's not too much, but we all know that in the new world we're gonna have a lot of farms. It can be cacao, coffee, cotton, many different ones, right? So that will be a lot of grapes at the end of the day. The one that I do prefer, so this one is a legendary. The one I prefer is not a legendary, but still, I basically, as we'll see later, have it everywhere. Is this one, the horticulturalist? Why do I like it? Well, it's providing 20 versus 30 for the other on productivity, but it's also number of module minus 20%, and that is huge. That is really huge because your number of module, well, first, the new world is kind of limited in space, but also when you get with tractors and things like this, the productivity of one farm will get to 200, 300, 400%. And if you can reduce the number of modules and have more of those 500% farms, that's huge. And you can see even the ratio for grapes is even better, 1 out of 13. So this one definitely should produce a lot of grape for you. And then last one that I did want to show, even if you may not use it that much, is my, did I make a mistake? Oh yes, there's a, and it's for your bakeries. So we're not talking about farms anymore now, we're talking about your production of bread. It is interesting for productivity and chocolate, so many people do use it. I don't, but many people do. And it also does produce grape at a very good ratio, 1 to 6. So many ways to produce grapes so that you don't have to have vineyards. Then a few other ones that I wanted to mention. First one is that champagne can actually be passively bought or sold in your harbors. And by that, if you don't know what I mean, is if you go to your trading post, well, I have a lot of resources here, but if you put it here, you can say I want to sell or I want to buy, and you can also put the limit, right? So if I put this, it means traders like Ellie or Archibald are going to come and potentially sell or buy some for me. So that can be quite powerful. Stop it. Then we talked about festival providing the champagne to your houses, but there's also items or item to be, well, no, there's actually several, but items in your town halls to provide champagne to. So let's take now a quick look at that. And the main one is Aristelia. Because as you can see, so you equipped in your town hall and she will provide the needs of champagne completely. It's 100% for your houses on top of some happiness. So that's quite powerful because basically if all of your houses are inside town halls, then you don't need to produce any champagne. Or if most of them are, it reduces the need quite drastically. There are other items that do provide for your town hall, do provide the need, but usually they provide like 20% of the need or 10% or 50%. So that's why they're a bit less interesting, I would say, than this one. And then the final way in this sort of production chain is to get grapes with the Sacred Botanica set. With that set, you will get grapes with arbor activity. So I mentioned earlier that you can sell or buy passively in your arbor, right? And if you do that, you actually have chance to get more items, and in particular grapes with the sacred one. So this is sort of a very low production method, but still worth noting. Now let's move to the basic production rate. So if we look back at here, you can see this is 30 seconds to produce 1 ton of champagne using 1 ton of glass and 1 ton of grape. So the production rate is 2 tons per minute. Of course, you can then play with your, oh, I don't have it here, sorry. Where is it? I have it in the Cape. So here, you can see they are here, perfect. why is it taking long to load, and why is, yeah. So you can change the working conditions, right, plus 50, and you can also impact with electricity here. So with that will of course double it. Now, if you don't have electricity or the plus 50%, one cellar actually supplies 85 investor residence, if of course those investor residents don't have items to boost their maximum population. That's something key, I think. Probably most people know, but if not, let me show you quickly. Is that
my heartfelt gratitude.
So let me find actually a house that doesn't. Yeah, so this one is not covered, right? It's a normal house, investor house 50. So if I have one investor, 42 investor like here, or 50 investor, it will actually consume exactly the same amount, right? And that's why I said 85 investor residencies, and I didn't say a number of investor, because it's always based on this maximum here, the consumption. But now, if you have items, like these items here, increasing the number of residents, right? Like for example, this one plus 20%. So you can see here we get to 80. So this 80, I mean, we went from 50 to 80, right? So now the consumption increases, and therefore your ratio of one cellar at 100% for 85 residents won't work anymore. That's important to note. And of course, in that case, Control Q is your friend, right? To show you how much do you need. You can go to consumer needs. You can see here I need 9, for example, for this population of 761 houses. So that was for the production rate. Now let's talk about perfect layouts. And you won't actually see perfect layouts here in this map. So I've put below in the description the link to those perfect layouts. And why won't you see them here? Well, the first reason is that for grapes, I actually don't like using a perfect layout where you would have, 20, 30, or 36 vineyards in just one trade unions, because I'm already producing way too much grapes for that. As I showed you before, there's item to get grapes, right? So if we look at all my islands, go to agricultural, I'm producing 200 grapes. I only need 80 for my 500,000 investors. And those 203, if we look at the production tab, as you can see, coming from a lot of coffee, a lot of cacao, a lot of caoutchouc, cotton, and I do have just a few here, actual vineyards that, once again, I probably don't even need, but let me show you why I have them, or where they are. They are basically in what I would call low space. Is I can't put more, so this bootmaker here, more bootmaker there, or there, for example, or there, or even here, or there. So I'm just putting vineyards. If you want to really optimize, I probably don't need these, so I could put some scholars, right? I could put a few scholars, maybe, I don't know, 10,000 max scholars, something like this. But for now, this is where I have some vineyards. And similarly for champagne, as I said before, so first of all, I'm producing some in those vineyards that are there. And then here, I have just a few, and it's what, like 8 and 9 I have 9 here, and that's enough for my 500,000 investors. So that's why I don't need a perfect layout. But if you do want to see the perfect layout to fit as many champagne cellar around one trade union, once again, check out below the description. You'll find it there. Then let's move to the local departments. So for the local departments here, it's definitely, I would say, quite easy, where for both the grapes and the champagne, you will go with labor, right, to get to the 60% productivity. It's just the policy that will be different. For the grapes, you probably want the land reform. We look here, and I should have it. Yeah, the Land Reform Act, which will produce extra good from farm at the rate of 1 out of 2 cycles. So that's huge. That is really huge. As you can see, I have some here. So that's for the grapes. Now for the champagne, you have 2 choices. Either you go with union subsidies to get a 4th item, or you can go with the galvanic grant axe, which is plus 50% production when you have electricity. And I'm pretty sure that's the one I have here on the Cape. You can check. Here it is this one, electricity boot plus 50. And that's, between the 4th items or this one, that will really depend on which other production you have on this island, right? Because for the sellers, both of them can be quite powerful. Now for the museums and cultural sets, as the next step, we don't really have anything except this icebound expedition, which reduces the maintenance cost, which honestly, like, we have so much money and it doesn't matter at all. Usually by that point in the game for the champagne cellar, but for the grapes, there are a few. And I'm pretty sure I actually have them here. So let's take a quick look. If we see them by clicking. Yes. So the first one is the Amazonas garden. So the set for the Amazonas in the botanical garden gives you the grape fertility if you don't have it on your island, but more importantly gives you plus 25% productivity. This is the first one. Then the second is the origin of mankind. Productivity plus 10 and workforce minus 5. Wait, wasn't it productivity plus 5 before? Maybe they changed that in the last update. So that's not a huge bonus, but still, you'll take it, right? And that's basically it for the museums and cultural sets. Now let's talk about items. And I think it's good that we're here, because this is not, this one actually is not the best one. We should change that. I don't know if I have Ferris. Yes, perfect. This is my suggestion for vineyards with tractors, because the tractors will take you minus 50% workforce, right? So you just need minus 50 now, which you will get with the miraculous steel. You also get plus 50% productivity, which is basically the max you can get, right? Usually with items. Similarly, ferrous will give you 50 again. And then lastly, we saw him before, the medal winning producer, to get productivity plus 40, which is one of the highest you can get, and also on top of that the champagne. If you have a 4th item for one reason or another, then you probably want indeed this patent steel, which will give you plus 40. So let's put back him. Then moving to the champagne cellar. Now you probably want no workforce or close to that, but maybe not, right? But if you do want that, then I would say as often it's ferrous, the printing press, and the extremely loud bell. If you have a 4th item, you may want to consider this one, which don't use that much, but Miss Elise, which will give you plus 50 of productivity. So once again, that's kind of the maximum you can get. And on top of that, you get this special guest, unique specialist may visit your city, so increasing getting items in your public mooring. That's always nice. And just to finish on terms of items, as we mentioned, this medal winning producer is quite nice and can also be used on your red pepper or grain farms, right? It's not just for your vineyards. And the other one is your horticulturalist that I mentioned before for all of your new world. Oh, that's a nice visual bug. Sorry about that. That should disappear very quickly. Perfect. So as you can see, I'm putting it everywhere. Gives you really reducing this number of module and giving you grapes is really useful. So it is, ladies and gentlemen, for this new episode on grapes and champagne for you to produce a lot of grape without vineyards usually, and a lot of champagne without too many champagne cellars. If you have any questions, suggestions, things that I may have missed, please do not hesitate to share, once again, either in the comments below or in my Discord channel. Hope to see you next time.